I still taste the bleach. Not the kind they spray on counters. The kind that lives behind your eyes when the only man who was supposed to hand you the world hands you a death sentence instead. My name is Elena Harlan, and this is the night my father killed me. February 14th. Valentine's Day. Because the universe likes its jokes bloody. I was 33, top of Johns Hopkins, 3 years of residency carved into my bones like initials on a tree. I walked into his office expecting confetti. Instead, I got a manila envelope and a post-it that said, "Review before staff meeting." Inside, an org chart. Caleb's name in the box that used to be blank. Mine erased so cleanly the paper looked vacuum sealed. I stood there in my perfectly pressed coat, stethoscope coiled like a sleeping snake, and felt the floor liquefy. Dad didn't look up. He just kept signing. Each stroke of his fountain pen a coffin nail. "Medicine isn't for women at this level, Elena." The sentence landed between us like a corpse on the table. Cold. Final. Already starting to smell. I tasted copper. I had bitten the inside of my cheek until it split. That taste is the first thing I want you to swallow. Hold it. Because for the next 40 minutes, I'm dragging you through every hallway I bled in, every waiting room where patients chose me over the empire that threw me away, every midnight where I rebuilt my spine one vertebra at a time. Breathe in the bleach. We're going under. The apartment I came home to that night was too quiet. 14th floor. City humming below like a hive that didn't know it was dying. I stood on the balcony in February wind sharp enough to shave skin and rehearse the speech I'd never get to give. Thank you for trusting me with our legacy. I'd practiced it in the mirror so many times the glass fogged with resentment. Inside, my medical degree watched from the wall like a hostage. Dr. Elena Harlan, Johns Hopkins, Magna. Cum laude. For years undergrad. For years med school. 3 years residency. 11 years of my life reduced to a punchline about ovaries. I opened the fridge. Nothing but oat milk and a single bottle of Prosecco left from New Year's. I drank it straight from the bottle. Bubbles burned like tiny revolutions. My phone buzzed. "Mom." "He's doing what he thinks is best, sweetheart." I threw the phone. Heard it shatter against brick like a femur. Good. I slept 4 hours. Woke up tasting bleach and vengeance. I called Dr. Nadia Patel in Seattle. She answered on the third ring, voice thick with sleep and Pinot. He did what? Silence long enough for a small moon to orbit. Then, pack a bag. You're coming here tomorrow. We're building you a war room. Seattle smelled of rain and printer ink. Nadia's loft had white bards bleeding red marker. Across the biggest one. Fuck the patriarchy. Underneath, a flowchart titled Operation Phoenix. Step 1. Find a building in Denver within 2 miles of Daddy's empire. Step 2. Steal his patients with oat milk and Wi-Fi. Step 3. Watch him choke on his own legacy. She handed me a cappuccino and a contract. I signed in red Sharpie. It felt like blood. 3 months later, I stood in an empty 4,200 square foot shell on the edge of Cherry Creek. Exposed brick. 14-foot ceilings. The realtor kept talking about good bones. I heard heartbeat. I signed the lease with a pen that still smelled like Dad's office. I named the holding company Phoenix Rising LLC. Subtlety is overrated. The bank laughed. A solo female doc competing with a 60-year institution? Cute. I slid my 48-page business plan across mahogany. Page 1, photo of me at 7 holding Dad's stethoscope. Page 47, projected revenue year 3, $2.4 million. They stopped laughing. Approved the loan in 72 hours. Joyce quit Harlan family practice the day Caleb shadow-bombed her diabetic foot. Clinic with a vape pen. She showed up at my WeWork cube with champagne and her resignation letter still warm. I'm 58, divorced, and done wiping asses for men who can't find the clitoris on an anatomy exam. I hired her on the spot. Gave her 10% equity and the title Chief Experience Officer. She cried. I pretended I wasn't. Construction smelled of sawdust and possibility. I chose lavender walls because Dad's were battleship gray. I chose exam tables that reclined like lazy boys because Dad's felt like guillotines. I chose a digital portal that let patients message me at 2 a.m. because Dad's office closed at 4:30 and judged you for needing them after. September 15th. Opening day. 7 a.m. 0 patients booked. 7:03 a.m. Mrs. Kowalski, Dad's patient since 1983, walked in clutching a flyer for free blood pressure checks. She took one look at the oat milk Keurig and burst into tears. I've been trying to get an appointment for 3 months. Your father's office said October. I spent 45 minutes with her. Adjusted her lisinopril. Held her hand while she told me about her husband's dementia. When she left, she hugged me so hard my stethoscope bruised my collarbone. Joyce high-fived me with latex gloves still on. We were open for business. Dad called at 9:47 p.m. Take down the flyers, Elena. You're confusing my patients. I'm clarifying their options. This is war. No, Dad. War would be me telling Channel 9 why I left. This is just better medicine. He hung up. I finished the Prosecco. Felt the bubbles burn like justice. October 31st. Halloween. 73 patients. 14 hours. My left eye twitched every time the door chime dinged. 11:57 p.m. the fire alarm went off. Mrs. Kowalski's grandson thought the defibrillator pads were stickers. I stood in the parking lot in unicorn scrubs, watching foam snow drift under streetlights, and realized I was shaking. Not from cold. From the certainty that I would die here, age 34, buried under insurance paperwork and other people's cholesterol. I drove to the construction site of location number 2. Climbed the scaffolding in the dark. Sat on a beam 20 feet up, legs dangling over rebar and future exam rooms. The city glittered below like a circuit board. I screamed until my voice gave out. Then I whispered Nadia's mantra 47 times. They have tradition. We have tomorrow. On the 48th, I believed it. December 23rd. 2 days before Christmas. Joyce knocked once and opened the door. Behind her stood Dr. Harrison, Dad's senior partner for 30 years, holding a banker's box and looking like a man who'd just signed his own eulogy. I'm retiring. Congratulations. I'm referring my entire panel to you. Effective January 1st, 487 patients. The room tilted harder than the day Dad disinherited me. Why? He set the box down. Inside, color-coded charts, handwritten notes, a flash drive labeled Harrison's greatest hits. Because your father just fired me for insubordination. He slid a second flash drive across the desk. DEA proof. Enough to revoke 2 licenses and sink a 60-year practice. I'm giving you the nuclear codes, Elena. Use them wisely. Harrison kissed my forehead, the only fatherly thing any man in scrubs had done in years, and walked out. Joyce locked the door. We toasted with plastic flutes that said Happy New Year 2025. Close enough. January 1st. 487 new charts. The waiting room overflowed into the hallway. I hired Thomas, fresh residency graduate with kind eyes and faster fingers on a keyboard than anyone I'd ever met. I hired Rebecca, pediatric wizard who could calm a colicky infant with one hummed bar of Twinkle, Twinkle. I hired James, geriatric guru who treated 90-year-olds like rock stars. We moved to the entire second floor. 6 exam rooms. A lab that smelled of citrus instead of fear. A chronic disease suite with recliners and Netflix because diabetes shouldn't feel like prison. Dad tried billboards. 3 generations of trusted care. I tried truth. Same-day appointments. No judgment. Oat milk. We won. March 1st. 2nd anniversary of the day he killed me. I opened location number 2 in East Denver. Ribbon cutting. Mayor. Local news. Dad watched from the back row, face the color of old oatmeal. I smiled for the cameras. Inside, I whispered to the 7-year-old still holding his stethoscope. Look, baby girl. We brought dolphins. April. The medical board called. Anonymous complaint. Patient poaching. Fraudulent advertising. I knew whose handwriting was on the envelope. My lawyer Victoria, healthcare shark in 4-inch heels, laughed so hard she snorted. This is retaliation wearing a Halloween mask. We buried them in paperwork. Complaint dismissed. Dad's name mud in every group chat from Boulder to Colorado Springs. June. Dr. Harrison's full panel settled in. Mrs. Kowalski brought cookies shaped like phoenixes. I cried in the supply closet. Joyce found me, handed me a tissue and a raise. July. Caleb called from Phoenix. Voice hollow. I'm out. Medical equipment sales. Dad blames me for everything. I said the first kind thing in 2 years. You were never the villain, Caleb. You were just the wrong hero for the wrong story. He cried. I let him. August. National healthcare franchise knocked. Patricia, not Nadia, another one, offered 7 figures to replicate Phoenix Rising in 10 cities. I said yes. Not for the money. For every daughter who would never have to taste bleach. September. Denver Medical Association gave me the Rising Star Award. I wore navy silk and no apologies. Dad sat alone at table 27. Our eyes met across salmon and regret. I lifted my water glass. He lifted his. We drank to ghosts. November. Tonight. Location number 12 ribbon cutting tomorrow. I stand in my original office, cracked mirror salvaged from Dad's waiting room on the wall. 2 Elenas stare back. The girl who believed steady hands save lives. The woman who learned sometimes you have to break the hands that won't let go. Dad volunteers at the free clinic on Tuesdays. He wears a badge that says volunteer. No MD. He asks permission to listen to lungs. Patients call him Mr. Harlan. He smiles like it doesn't hurt. Mom texts photos of Sunday dinners I host for the staff. He sits at the end. Quiet. Grateful. Learning my recipes by heart because he's not allowed to give advice. Caleb FaceTimes from Phoenix. He sells MRI machines now. Makes bank. Sends me memes about sexist dinosaurs. We laugh until we cry. Healing sounds like static and forgiveness. I still taste bleach sometimes. But now it's the scent of a building that's mine. Of exam tables I chose. Of a sign that reads, Phoenix Family Medicine. Founded 2025. 12 locations and counting. Women welcome. Always. The cracked mirror stays on the wall. I touch the fracture every morning. Whisper to both Elenas. Steady hands, baby girl. Steady hands save lives. And for the first time, I believe me. So tell me, when was the last time someone handed you an envelope and expected you to disappear? Did you open it? Did you burn it? Did you build an empire on the ashes? Drop your story below. I read every word. I pin the brutal ones. Because this comment section is my new waiting room, and every scar you leave is another patient choosing tomorrow over tradition. See you at location number 13. Bring oat milk.